Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. I am super psyched to go live with you here today. My new friend Amy and I are going to be chatting about some really amazing stuff regarding emotional intelligence, how our emotions relate to the body, and so many more amazing things. Amy, would you like to tell us who you are, what you do, and how you got to this space in your business?
Yes, I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Of
And
course.
yeah, so basically, well, my story kind of started out. I practiced massage therapy. That was the first training that I got. And you know, through body work and massage, I started to recognize that there was a lot of, energetics with that. And that just really was the first little bit into the opening of energy work in my life. And from there, I went to acupuncture school, and that definitely opened up the energy conversation. And working on the meridians and the organs in the body and understanding like how everything is connected was a really big uh, insight into that how much more there is to an individual person. I've heard many times recently that we are a spirit having a human experience.
Oh, I
And
love
it's
that.
just, I know, I love that too. And it's just like, yes, like there's so much more that we can be tapping into, in this life. And that's what's so, what's really kind of like driven my passion for life is understanding that there's so much happiness to be had,
Yeah.
and through gratitude and just recognizing that we have so much more potential in ourselves to um, cultivate a sense of well-being through energy work.
Yeah.
And for me, it all started like massage and acupuncture, but then it went into like from acupuncture, I recognized energy work, but it still was a little bit like, okay, cool, like it's still physical, it's still like working on the body in order to affect the internal organs and things like that. But then I recognized that everything actually comes from the mind,
Yes.
everything. So when people come in to see me, I'm like, okay, let's talk about, your emotional well-being, because your emotions govern each organ specifically. So the lungs is sadness. We hold all of our sadness in the lungs. The kidneys is fear. Do you ever watch a movie where they get so scared they pee themselves?
Yes. Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't even know that. Holy cow, that's amazing information.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. Anger is the liver, and worry is the spleen and stomach. A lot of people with anxiety get a lot of stomach
Oh,
issues, right? So we can link our emotions to the organs, and people can come in to see me, and just through their personality, I can talk to somebody for just a couple of minutes, and I can be like, okay, you are all heart, or you are all liver, or you are all spleen, and it's all because I can see their personality through how they hold themselves and everything else. And then I read the tongue, which gives me there's a tongue map. If you go on Google and you type in TCM, traditional Chinese medicine tongue map, it will show you where the organs are on the tongue. And so I can look at your tongue and be like, okay, the color, the coat, the like how you stick it out, even the moisture, where it dips and where it is curved, different things like that. It all gives me indications as to whether you or not you have an excess or a deficiency in a specific organ. So the tip of the tongue is the heart. So if you have a really red tip to your tongue, a lot of people do, it's a very common symptom, then
Now I
there's
want
a,
to go look at my tongue.
yeah, I know, right? It's so cool. So then it shows that you have heat. So red is heat and pale is cold. So we are the weather. We like to separate ourselves from nature, but like the weather controls us completely, right?
Yeah, like
So
the tides and the moon, it's like we're 70% water. And so of course it's going to govern us as well.
absolutely, absolutely. So if you can understand that we are the weather, and so like we get dry, we get damp, we get hot, we get cold. Well, these are all conditions in the body. So if you live in a damp environment, I live in a damp environment, then I'm going to have a lot of dampness in my body. Therefore, I'm going to retain water more and things like that. So people in my area, like we move to like a dry heat from a damp cold that's actually going to heal us. So it's really interesting. There's a lot of dynamics with it and a lot of things to learn, but the emotions is the big thing, bringing us back to that, because that is everything. Like as we learn emotional intelligence, we realize like, holy cow, it's really contributing to so much dysfunction in our reality and in ourselves. So everything that I have studied up to this point has, created this like, whoa, like it's all about self-sourcing, it's all about going inward, it's all about understanding our emotional intelligence, how we can like recognize that life is just a game, essentially. If you can hold the remote control of Nintendo and play, it's the exact same thing, because we are in control of our emotion. We're in control of everything. If you just recognize how simple it can be to just take a second before you react, like you have complete power. So you have complete power over everything in your life.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't necessarily notice that, or they feel like they're kind of a victim to their emotions, or that their emotions control them, or the outside world is controlling them, when in reality, just like you're saying, it's we control everything and we have that power. We just have to learn how to tap into it.
Absolutely. And it's so powerful when you do, because it you understand that you have complete control, and when you really get that, then you can start to really manage your life, and by doing that you can cultivate and manifest anything you desire. It's that simple, right? So it's just like, okay, from point A to point B to point C, and this is like the last 15 years of my life of like going from massage to acupuncture to, my aunt introduced me to Dolores Cannon, who, not quite sure if you know about her. She wrote about 19 books on quantum healing hypnotic therapy, which is something that she practiced for decades. She was 86, I believe, when she died, but she would put people in a state of hypnosis and go back into past life regression hypnotism and kind of help them with their current life problems by going into their past lives. Wow. So, but through this work, she ended up getting information fed to her through entities that were coming through these people. And so all of her books are written on all that information. So that was the first, like, really like, whoa, woo woo kind of information, right? That I dove into. That. And then it went, and then I found a quantum physicist named Nassim Haramein. Yeah. And he was like the mic drop for me, because I was so like, I need to see it to believe it. And, science and facts and all these
opposite things. We have to believe it to see it.
Yes, exactly. Love that. But anyway, so I went to him, and his information was like, he talked about dimensions, and everything in his work was very, it just brought the fact science stuff to the energy stuff. So then for me, it was just like, it just gave me permission to be like, this is real. I'm not just some woo nutball here.
Yeah, I know, right? Sometimes you feel that way, especially if we're talking to people that don't resonate or know anything about this type of work. So it totally makes sense, but then it's so validating.
It is. And everybody has their own journey. And so, it might take like, the 10, 15 years it took me to get to this point. It might take other people, but I mean, we could just speak in a video and just kind of give some information to, that could possibly land for even one viewer today. Like, like if somebody could wrap everything up for me, and I could get something like that tangible and that like profound for through something so simple, it would be just incredible. But it can take many, many years to get to this point, and it's understandable because it is not what we're, socially conditioned to believe. And there's a lot of things that are put on us, but you don't understand things until are like, we're fed information and you just take the information.
Yeah.
If it's not in your awareness, then how are you supposed to understand a different reality so there it's just you're given, this is life, and follow the crowd, and everybody, you want to fit in and all these things, but that's actually the opposite of the dimension that we're moving into, and the paradigm shift that we're moving into. It's about individuality and trusting in yourself and going inward, right? And really being like, it's about me, it's not about anybody else, and that's not selfish at all.
Yeah.
That's actually, and I've been saying this for years before any of this work hit me. I've been saying for years, if everybody just made themselves happy, that would be world peace.
Imagine that. Imagine that if they were willing to, take that on instead of looking to other people to fill the void, and they were able to create, a life and love for themselves, then again, everybody is happier that way. I see that in relationships as well. And so can you talk a little bit more about like the individuality, the new paradigm that's coming in?
Oh yeah, well, so I mean, from all that work up until this point, and understanding that, I am the maker of my reality and I am in control of everything. Once you grasp that concept and you really understand that, there is different ways, there's different routes of working with other people. And the biggest thing that I learned is the blame, shame, story, and excuse. This is the biggest thing that really got me into that different energy. It was recognizing that, when something happens in your life that creates an emotion, a strong emotion in your body, and you're like, oh, and your heart starts to go, and you're just like, upset.
Yeah.
That is the clue. That is the first step into being and recognizing, okay, I need to look inward. I need to go in and be like, why am I having this reaction? I'm the one reacting here, right?
Oh my gosh, so much yes.
Yes. And so you go in and you're like, okay, that's when you can be like, okay, so I'm reacting. This person just randomly on the street called me a bitch, right? And it came out of nowhere. And you want to be like, but then it's like, well, did it come out of nowhere? Did it? And does that truly matter? Does it truly matter? Some random person that you're never going to see again, right? Take it in, process it. Was I being a bitch?
Yeah.
Did I do something? Did I give a bad look? Like, really look at yourself, and then let it go, or process that, if it's a deeper situation, allow the emotion to come through, but recognize that it's about going inward. It's not about making a story up around it, an excuse, blaming and shaming other people. It's about being like, okay, I'm going to look in. So
yeah, we have that choice of whether or not we're going to let it affect us. And I think that's the biggest thing, is we have that choice. It's like there's that quote, it's life is 10% what happens to us and 90% how we react to it. And that's the emotional intelligence. Oh, I have the same water bottle.
You got the green one in there?
Girls. Yep.
I know. Love it. Yeah, absolutely. So that was the biggest step for me, for, really checking in, to be able to just stop and process things for my individual self, and knowing that it's only hurting me when I react negatively to other people and create that, that blame and pointing the finger, right? Because 99.9% of the time, what's happening to you is a reflection of what you need to be working on.
Absolutely. It's coming up so that we can heal it. And if we're just, going through life blaming everybody else and everything else, then what's going to happen is we're not going to learn what we need to learn. And then it's like the spiral of life. We're going to continue to have the lesson come up over and over and over again until we are like, that's weird. I am the common denominator. What's going on here?
Perfectly said. Perfectly said. I love it. How about you? Tell me about how you got to your journey. I'd love to hear your story.
Oh, absolutely. So I started with energy work as well. So I got into Reiki about 7 years ago. I was actually a cosmetologist, and I discovered Reiki through one of my friends. And I was at such a pretty horrible point at that point in my life. I was really struggling with depression, anxiety, PTSD, self-hatred, toxic and abusive relationships. I was going through a lot of just it was like bad things just kept happening in my life, whether it was I was getting robbed, or I was getting my car broken into, or something would always happen. And so I just was living this life in survival mode of this thing's happening, I hate myself, I'm going through this, everything bad is happening to me. And so I was very much in a victim mentality, and that's the way I just thought life was always going to be. And so I remember when I found Reiki, it was like the first time in my life that I had ever felt peace. And so I got really involved with that, and I actually got certified in it and became a Reiki practitioner, and that was my very first business. And so I started doing it for other people here and there, and then I got into coaching. And originally, I was a coach for emotional and disordered eating, and so I was helping people overcome eating disorders, bulimia, the binge and purge cycle. And what I realized is, as I healed, there were a lot of events that got me to where I was, pretty difficult events that kind of forced me to integrate all of the things that I had been learning. And so, how like we listen to things, we know the information, but we're not actually integrating it. So I've had so many life experiences that were like, Morgan, you're not fucking listening. Like, I'm going to hit you in the face with this really difficult situation, and you're going to have to integrate everything that you've learned. And so the biggest thing that caused me to do that was going through court with my daughter's paternal grandparents. They tried to get my daughter for 50-50 custody after her dad died, after not being involved in her life at all. And in that process, they were just assassinating my character, saying things that weren't true. And so I had to basically convince the court that I had an amazing life, and I had everything going for me. And so in that process, it forced me to integrate all of the learnings that I had. And the result of that was I overcame codependency, I overcame toxic relationships, I overcame love addiction. I cultivated a beautiful relationship with myself. I actually realized how amazing I was. I felt so accomplished. And so then I realized that I was helping my clients not only heal their emotional and disordered eating, but I was also helping them heal their relationships. And so through all of the work that I had done for myself, I was also doing that with my clients. And I got certified in internal family systems therapy, NLP, all the things. And so once I actually learned how to heal my relationships, and that I didn't have to live a life that was dictated by other people, and I actually had a choice, my business took off. Everything that I had been trying to manifest for years, like, having financial freedom, relationship, all of the things, everything just took off in my life, because I was like, oh my gosh, I have the control. I can create anything that I desire. And so it really started to pop off. I was really relentless about my healing. And so I started relationship coaching, helping women get out of toxic and abusive relationships, healing from narcissistic abuse, and ultimately becoming an energetic match for the kind of love that they'd like to call in. So it's really been, when we have these really painful life experiences, a lot of the times we want to fall victim to them. And I had every reason to fall victim to what was going on around me. But when I changed, my life from saying everything is happening to me to everything is happening for me, every abusive relationship I've had, every painful experience, every failure, every, just everything that I thought was bringing me to my knees and going to destroy me, it actually helped me create the woman that I am today, the business that I have today, the relationship that I have today. So just like with what you're saying, it's like our emotions, like that emotional intelligence, that means that we are in control of our emotions. We're able to express ourselves in correct ways. We're able to, instead of blame others, we can look within and find the lesson for everything. And so that's also what I teach my clients is, what is this trying to teach you? Because if we look at it in a sense of this bad thing's happening, it means that I'm wrong, I'm bad, I'm stupid, I'm not lovable, then you're going to get more of that. But if you're like, what is this trying to teach me? And look at it from a place of curiosity rather than judgment, then you're going to get the lesson, and then you're going to quantum leap. It's like, that's the thing. We're learning the lesson, and then we don't have to continue to have these experiences over and over again that that are painful, trying to show us something. It's like a lot of the time we just have to take a look and say, oh, I see that this is a pattern. Oh, I see that I'm the common denominator here. What can I do about this? And so being able to like use your emotions, quantum physics, like being able to, like you were saying, you create your reality. A lot of the times people are like, well, I'll believe it when I see it. In quantum physics and manifestation, which is how I created my life that I have right now, that is so drastically different from what it used to be 5 years ago. I believed that I could have it. I would visualize it in my mind. I would cultivate the feelings. I would take action towards it. And now it's so funny to read back on my old journals. Everything that I said that I wanted, that I would have, I now have. And it's pretty epic. And so it's like, we do have to trust, we have to surrender, we have to let go of control and know that, the energy we're putting out is exactly what we're going to get back. Do you feel like you resonate with that?
Oh, big time. Yes, I love your story. Oh my goodness.
Oh, thank
If
you.
you could just dissect each little bit of it, it would be just so interesting to dive into how, like, the details of it, because it sounds very intense, to say the least.
It's very intense. And
Yes.
what I found too was I struggled, and I'm sure that you can either relate to this for yourself or the clients that you work with. I had a lot of pain in my body. I had chronic neck and shoulder pain. I was in and out of the hospital with severe migraines and stress-related illnesses. I was put on bed rest for a month, and it was like all of my emotions were driving these physical symptoms. And I'm a big Louise Hay fan. And so once I found her book, like You Can Heal Your Life, it was like, oh my gosh, all of these symptoms that I'm having is related to this emotion. And there you go. You're like, yes, I resonate with that deeply.
Yes. Right beside me here.
Yes, exactly. And it's like, once we release these emotions because they're trapped in the body, and just like you said, like the energy meridians are chakras, once we start to heal these emotions, our physical symptoms begin to dissipate. I've worked with clients that, struggled with, chronic pain or PMDD. That, I think that's what it is, the severe menstrual pain. And autoimmune diseases. And when we do the work of healing themselves and their relationships, they notice that they're autoimmune, even though we weren't even trying to work on that. The symptoms of their autoimmune begin to lessen. And so it just
Absolutely.
Do you see that in your clients as well?
Oh, constantly. And that's why I focus on the emotions, because I know that that's actually the root cause of everything. And that's what's actually going to heal, is understanding your emotions and understanding how to control, and like that. The control is the biggest thing, because it is easy. People are like, oh, easier said than done. I'm like, no, it's very easy. But it takes those clicks. It's just certain clicks for certain people. But yeah, like what you're saying is brilliant, because it is exactly it. Like it's a byproduct of your brain, and your emotions is the key to everything that's happening with you on a physical level.
Yeah.
And more, and physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, like all of it. It just is all linked to that. So yes, 1,000,000%. It's amazing when you start working with a life coach or a relationship coach or whatever however you want to label it.
Yeah.
It's like you don't even, you're not even like, you're not even going to them for your physical problems, but as soon as you start working on these things, then all of a sudden your physical body is just like, finally,
Yes.
finally, you're listening. And I learned a
Yes.
concept from a man called Jason Estes, and I highly recommend following this man. He's blown my mind, and absolutely, he's my number one mentor. Him and Melanie and Layer, of course, those two
Yeah.
people have just opened my world. And he talks about the body as a child. So
Yeah.
so this concept has really, really changed everything, because what it is like, if you treat your body like a child, would you not let your child go to sleep if it was tired? Would you overstuff your child if it was full? Would you,
Ooh,
like
that gave me
really,
goosebumps.
right? And it's just like, if you don't gain trust with your body is not you. Your body is a completely different entity. You are what's inside the body. So your body is your body's a child. So if you start to really treat your body like it is your baby,
Yeah.
you start to gain trust with your body. And by
Mhm.
gaining trust with your body, the full potential of who you are as a spiritual being can come into your body,
Yeah.
and you can walk around the earth with all that potential and all that knowledge.
I love that so much. You're
It-
so right. Just treating yourself as like a precious child. It's like that's how we gain, like you said, self-trust and self-love. If we're treating our body like shit, then we're gonna get shit in return. But if we can start, we do a lot of inner child work in the work that I do with my clients, and doing that inner child work is so deep, impactful, and it's like you you are treating yourself and your body like a small child instead of constantly beating yourself up. It's like, would you do that to a child? No, you wouldn't. And our inner child is the strongest because she's been around the longest. So we have to take that into account. And the inner child is where all of our patterning, our conditioning, our relationship blueprint, our core beliefs, like that's where it was formed, was those years between 0 and 7. And then we operate by those as an adult, and we're like, wait,
yeah.
this doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
This does not feel good.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. It's like, okay, so this is not adulthood. We're still children acting like children.
Yep.
And yeah, and there's a lot of teaching around that goes deep. So that's just part of it, but it is something that is massive. We need to be given the tools in order to understand that we are not children anymore, and there's different kinds of ways to transition uh, into the emotional intelligence work that will create, a good foundation for moving into adulthood, like that you'll be able to handle yourself in any situation with
Yep.
grace and dignity and compassion and all the things that we all aren't taught as a child. We're taught, like, just,
Very reactive.
yeah, like, you did wrong, you should be punished, and until you're punished, I'm going to be pissed off at you. Like, what is,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
It's just foolishness, and we're not taught to be like, wait a second here. Let's see what's going on with me. Like, you upset me, but that's being shown to me. Like we said earlier, it's about really looking at all of it. So yeah, it's deep work, and it's very, very, there's a lot that goes with it, right? As you know, so.
There is, and it's so worth it. Like, when you're speaking about, that inner child and, the inner critic, a lot of us struggle with the inner critic, especially my clients. And it's like, when you stop to think about that inner critic, you actually realize that it sounds a lot like typically one of your parents or caregivers or teacher or coach. And it's like, oh my gosh, these thoughts aren't even mine. These thoughts aren't even mine. They're just, they've been there and they were, put on me. And then we take that, and then that's our internal voice, or, we feel responsible for people's feelings because, oh my gosh, I have to act a certain way so mom won't be mad at me. I have to behave a certain way so I don't piss off dad. And then that's where codependency stems from, is the inner child, anxious attachment, all of the relationship trauma. It's like, it stems back to that inner child, because we had to act a certain way in order to be loved. We had to, we had high expectations of us, or we had to grow up too fast. It's all where it stems from, that root cause. And I love that, healing the root cause is becoming so much more common in your work, in my work. Because it's like, instead of managing the symptoms, either the physical symptoms or trying to just do it in therapy, just talking about the feelings, it's not going to do anything. But if we get to the root cause, we can actually heal it rather than like slap a Band-Aid on it, right?
Big time.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it is amazing work. I mean, you can see the two of us are glowing. We just we both are just, this is our passion. We're like, and it radiates from the inside out, right? Like however you are inside internally will radiate from the inside. People are like, holy cow, I can't believe you're almost 40. And I'm like, yeah, I know, right?
That's amazing. You don't have a wrinkle on you.
This is a good camera. But no, it is.
It's the happiness.
Oh, it radiates from the inside out. It really does. And it's just, I mean, human beings aren't meant to age and die anyways. I know that's a whole other concept in itself, but we are not tapping into such massive potential as a human race. And obviously that has to do with the paradigm that we were in, but we're shifting out of that. And if any of this resonates for anybody who's watching, like, that's the key, is that if this feels like, oh, I feel like there's something here for me, like follow that instinct, because what's gonna move you into the true happiness and the true, like, we came here as human beings. Melanie says, like, the sun, we are obsessed with sunsets and sunrises. Like, we look at the sun, but the sun is just doing what the sun does. Why is that so amazing to us? Like, why do we look at the mountains and we think, wow, like, why are we just what, like I said, what the sun is doing, it's just what the sun does. So that is what we came here to discover in ourselves, is the five senses.
Beautiful.
And the emotions. All we are is walking emotions constantly.
All we are is walking emotions.
That's my thing. That's what I say all the time. All we are is walking emotions. So like, it is. So if you don't know how to manage that, you weren't taught from a small child how to transition into how to cultivate control over that. None of us are. Then how are you expected to walk this world with happiness and understand that there's so much more to life? Like I said, like, the senses are huge. Like, we came here to experience those. That's what we came here to do. We came here to be, to touch, to smell, to love, to, all the things. So
happy and enjoy life.
Yes, exactly. So let's cultivate a future, a manifest the things that we truly desire, which is through understanding that your walking emotion can be paused, controlled, and moved through in a healthy way that will create, like, so much. You'll get so proud of yourself when you start working on this stuff, and then that just creates happiness, and then it just moves from there. And gratitude is like the biggest cultivator of manifestation you can get. So when you start working on this, you're like, whoa, look at me go. And then you're proud of yourself, and then that creates the gratitude, and then it just moves from there, right? So these are the secrets of life that people are like, oh, what's the purpose and what's the secret? Well, this is it, and we're taught it because the 3D paradigm is like, no, let's just throw all this, like, Netflix and cigarettes and marijuana and alcohol and all these things to, like, distract from our true potential.
Control. Yeah. I agree 100%. And it's like, coming from it was in 2018 that I had reached out to someone in my family and told them, I was like, if anything happens to me, like, I want you to be the godparent of my daughter, because I was so depressed that I didn't think that I was going to make it. And so to be able to see that in 2018, and in being in so much emotional pain that I didn't want to live anymore, to being the happiest I have ever been. I literally lived such a beautiful life my life is so blissful. I have great relationships with friends, with family, with, you know, with my boyfriend. And it's just like, it's, you really don't understand how good things can get. But if you're willing to put in the work, if you're willing to see things from another angle and take responsibility, it's coming back to that responsibility of, I get to control my life. I get to change the thoughts that I have. I get to change the actions that I'm taking every day. And is it difficult? Yes. But is it simple? Yes. So it's, you know, it's simple, but it's not easy to constantly have that that change in mindset, change in behaviors, because those behaviors are serving you to some degree, but it's not getting you what you want. So, you know, I do believe that we're here to find our joy, our bliss, our happiness, to be of service to others, and to ultimately learn, you know, the lessons that we need to learn. But we get to have the life that we want. We get to have the joy, the relationships. We can create all of it. We just have to really be willing and open.
Yes. Yes. It's so exciting. I really hope that this reaches just even one person, because it is so blissful to be here. It is so, I'm getting teary-eyed because I'm just so grateful for where my life has taken me.
Yeah.
And like, it can be done. Anybody and everybody can have it. We're all equal. Nobody's on a pedestal. We're all walking shoulder to shoulder. You have potential. Every single human being has the potential, and we can all get into this new paradigm. And it's just a matter of being open. It's
Yeah.
going to happen. You know, you can have it, and you can have anything. And I tell that to people when they come in to see me. I'm like, you don't know how easy it is. It just, you can do this.
Yeah, exactly. I think that it's important to have somebody encouraging in your corner. Like, you know, I have a coach for myself, and you know, having somebody that can actually help you reframe things and give you a new mindset and kind of show you the path. That's how you collapse time around your healing. What it took me nearly, you know, 10 years to do, my clients are doing in months, because we're showing them the path that we had to go through all the hard shit to figure out, and then put into a framework, into a system. And,
Yes.
and so now our clients get to benefit from that, and they're collapsing time. So they don't have to do it for 10 years. They can do it in, you know, 3, 6, 9 months, a year, whatever it is. And get those epic results. And so can you share with us how people can work with you, how they can find you? I know you have a beautiful website that people can find you at as well.
Yes, it's sacredtherapy.ca. Simple as that. And I am on Facebook at just under my name, Amy McQuillan, McQuillan, Amy with a Y, and also Instagram, tcm.rmt.yoga. From there, I have 2 other Instagram pages, so you just go onto that one and you can find my other 2, my personal and then my goddess.
Yeah, I love that. And we'll put the links as well for everyone, so that they can access you easily.
Yes, and you as well, please.
Yes, absolutely. For anybody who is interested in healing their relationships, becoming an energetic match for the love that they deeply, deeply desire, you can find me here on my Facebook page, or you can join my Break the Cycle Facebook group, and I will put the link in the comments. Amy, this was just mind-blowing. You have so much incredible information. Chatting with you just felt like chatting with somebody that I've known for a very long time. So this was super refreshing and a great way to start off the weekend. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it was a very interesting and full of, like, there's so much in this video. It's like, holy cow, like, did we just give all the secrets away?
We sure did.
Yeah, but that's what it's all about. I'm like, I just want to share it all. I just want everybody to be in their bliss, you know, that we all deserve it. We all deserve it. So yes. Thank you so much.
You.
Yes.
Bye, everyone.